Open the window first. All right, it is 7 o'clock. I will call the meeting of the Planning Board for Thursday, September 13th, 2018 to order. I will accept a motion for the agenda.
So moved.
Is there all in favor? Please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, our first order of business is a public hearing, accessory dwelling, special permit, 10 Driftway. And who would that be?
That's me.
Then come forward, sir, and sit and talk into the microphone so that the public can hear you. Thank you. And you are?
Dennis Snyder.
Dennis Knight. Well, welcome, and please tell us what you're doing.
On the home I've owned since 1992, included in the property is a cabana that was there when I originally owned the house, bought the house, and I renovated it, and it was granted a certificate of occupancy about 10 years ago, I believe, I think October 2008, and I wish to make it an accessory dwelling. The purpose is that I have relatives that are not able to use stairs that are visiting, and that's why I would like to have an entrance where stairs are not necessary and someone can live without worrying about getting up and down.
Is someone living there now?
No.
No?
You said you have a certificate of occupancy for this?
Yes, I do.
For the cabana.
It's a
Right.
cabana.
It was originally built as a cabana.
Yeah. And it has its own certificate of occupancy?
It was in the materials, I believe, in the application that we sent you.
I missed that.
Then why do you want it to be an accessory apartment?
Well, if I have relatives there, and it's only been used by relatives ever, to be there for any number of weeks at a time, and again, if they don't require stairs,
But do you really feel you need an accessory apartment to do that?
I think so.
Special permit?
So, okay, educate me, Karen, on this.
Yeah,
If he already has a certificate of occupancy, why would he need an accessory
It was
dwelling?
for a cabana. That,
Yeah.
the only thing, it was for a cabana. Now it's being converted into a legal detached accessory dwelling unit. And that's why he's asking for this. It was only permitted as a cabana before.
So it was limited to daytime use, there's no kitchen in it, nothing like that?
There is a kitchen in it,
There is
yes.
a kitchen in it.
And that was part of the certificate of occupancy?
Yes,
And there's a bathroom in there?
yes,
And that was part of the,
yes.
what am I missing here?
And so the existing house, the kitchen, there was a second kitchen in the existing house that has been decommissioned. So the existing house currently only has one legal living unit, and the cabana is, he's asking for a second legal detached living unit, which is allowed under the zoning bylaw.
Okay, I'm still slow on the uptake here, so let me just try to ask a clarifying question. The main house
Yes,
Yes.
has a certificate of occupancy in and of itself.
That's for a primary dwelling, yes.
Right.
With,
The cabana
yes,
has a certificate of occupancy in and of itself,
as a cabana, yes.
as a cabana.
Yes, it was issued on 7/13/2010, cabana at
Yeah.
10 Driftway. Now he just wants to convert it into a legal detached accessory dwelling unit. And the cabana
Is this a
meets,
distinction without a difference?
the cabana meets the setbacks, et cetera. You're only allowed two dwelling units on a property, I mean, for the primary dwelling and a legal accessory dwelling unit, and that's what he's requesting.
But yet he has two legal units on the property right now.
The cabana was a cabana.
Used as for guests.
So he's permitting now as a legal living accessory dwellings unit.
Kind of illegal.
Is
It
the-
already has a kitchen and a bathroom and everything already
That's correct.
there.
It
Okay.
feels like it's legal now.
Well,
Am I missing something here? I mean, somebody issued a certificate of occupancy
for
for
a
it, right?
cabana, it wasn't an accessory dwelling unit.
But it could still be,
So now
I mean,
there's,
what's the difference between a cabana and an accessory dwelling in terms of its actual use?
right. I'm not understanding this.
I'm sorry, I just want to get to the bottom of it, so I sort of, I'm surprised that there's a separate, certificate of occupancy
Yeah,
for the
there is.
cabana. I would think it would be attached to the primary dwelling as a single certificate of occupancy.
no, the cabana was a separate certificate of occupancy, and there previously was a second kitchen in the house, which has been decommissioned under the directions of the building commission.
I think
Does
maybe,
the
That's
house
why-
have a kitchen?
Yes.
yes.
So that's why the applicant withdrew the last application. The kitchen has since been decommissioned, and now you're allowed to have this as a second, you're allowed to have an accessory unit on the property.
The cabana has a kitchen
Yes.
that's not decommissioned.
Right.
No,
He-
right, because it's gonna be the second, that's
No, I
gonna
mean
be
now,
the-
before you do anything else.
this is what he's submitted with the application.
Okay.
And it's been decommissioned, and he's trying to.
Cabana
make it-
has
No.
been?
No,
The house.
The
House.
second kitchen in the house has been decommissioned, and he's
Okay.
trying to permit this as a legal accessory dwelling unit.
All right,
Um,
I think, excuse me, Karen, I think having read the memo from Jennifer Keefe, correct me if I'm incorrect here, that this is only big enough for one person.
That would be right.
So if you have family members, if the tribe comes in to spend some time at the beach, are you going to stuff them all in the cabana?
No, not at all.
But also, too, it would appear that by having a legitimate accessory dwelling, you could, at some point in time, rent it.
I have no intent, it's never been rented for a day in 26 years, and I have no intent to rent it ever.
The application does contain a certification that the applicant will live in either the primary or accessory
Okay.
unit, which is allowed, and in Scituate, you are allowed to
I know,
rent
I'm well
those.
aware of that.
So,
But he couldn't theoretically rent the cabana with its current occupancy permit, but rather he needs the accessory apartment legitimized
yes,
in order to, at some point, do that.
yes.
Yes, so that's, it just seems sort of redundant,
He's trying to do the right thing.
whatever that might be.
Yes.
Yes, he's trying to do the right thing. We have many that are permitted after the fact.
I know.
because, you
I know.
so-
We
No,
see
but
the
this one's
one.
permitted.
Right,
No, it's
That-
permitted as a cabana,
cabana.
it's not permitted
I
as a.
get that, but it's got an occupancy permit, it's got a kitchen, it's got a bathroom, all that kind of stuff, right?
yep.
I don't have a definition for a cabana, but I'm not sure what the subtleties are.
Okay, well,
But I mean, if he wants to make an accessory dwelling, I'm not opposed to it.
Okay. Well,
I'm
we could run
not sure you
around,
need to do it.
right, that's, I think, the point, that you don't really need to do it. You already have your occupancy permit, and forever it will be known as the cabana.
It will be.
Yes, it will be. So regardless, you have an occupancy permit to do this. So I don't understand why,
He's trying to make it a legal
He's trying- yeah, I
know.
accessory
I'm
trying to
dwelling
do the
unit.
right thing.
If I could, just because of the nature of this process, I did hire a consultant with me, Mr. Ralph Sorelli, if I could introduce him, and perhaps he could.
Sure.
Thank you.
Good evening. I think to shed some light on this, I was a former state building inspector for the Department of Public Safety, and I've dealt with Scituate and their department. What happened here was, you're right, it was very confusing. Roughly in 2008, there was a cabana built. This cabana consisted of a bed, a bathroom, and a kitchen, but it was labeled a cabana. At that time, the building official went over there and he gave an occupancy permit for a cabana. Under your bylaws, you have to have a permit in order to let someone stay in there, whether it's short-term or whatever it may be, that it can't say cabana. And that's where the confusion lies. If back in 2008, the verbiage was in there for special dwelling units, which since then, I believe it was Mr. Duggan, labeled this in your bylaws an accessory dwelling unit. So hence the confusion.
Well, at that time, it would have needed a permit.
Right.
That's correct.
Right.
Yes, yes, sir.
If it were to be a special accessory dwelling unit.
And so
Correct.
now you're here for the permit.
Correct, just
So
to
there's
make it.
probably, is there anything in our bylaws for a cabana? This seems like, it seems like we're trying to undo something that.
No.
that-
No,
No,
the cabana,
I don't think so.
The cabana wasn't technically probably a second legal living unit on the property.
It
And
was
so
ju-
that's all, he's just trying to legalize an existing use under the zoning bylaw.
That's my point, is that if we're trying to legalize it, we're saying it's not legal now.
It's legal for a cabana.
Well, if this sheds a light
No
on
such
it,
animal as a special permit for a cabana, is there?
if this sheds light on it, I met with Neil and Bob at the, call it what we want to call it, I guess, the structure, I will call it. It has a bed, well, it's one room, but it has a bed in it, has a kitchen, has a bathroom. Nowhere in any time was it anything other than it was. My question to Neil Duggan was, why did it get an occupancy back in 2008? And his answer was, for a cabana. I wouldn't give an occupancy for a cabana. It's like giving an occupancy for a
A
shed.
shed.
Or a
right.
doghouse.
Okay.
So I see where we're going now. This is like, we've got to fix
Right.
what it
Fix
isn't.
this.
So in order for this to be legal, which Mr. Snyder's trying to do, is I went through that with both inspectors. It's got two means of egress, the fire suppression system, what have you is in there is all legal. They've given their sanction on it. I believe Mr. Duggan sent a letter to the board.
He sent an email today that I forgot to print out. And the second kitchen in the primary dwelling has been decommissioned, so this would be, the primary dwelling is one unit, the cabana will become the second legal accessory unit on the property.
By decommissioned, do you mean the stove was removed?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
But there's still a kitchen.
There's one kitchen in the primary unit. and
That's all
that-
it requires, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So whether there's one or two kitchens in the primary dwelling doesn't really make a difference.
Yes,
As
it
long as
would.
you
Yeah,
have
it
one,
does.
right?
Yeah,
It does make a difference.
Why does it make a difference?
Well, if you had two in the primary, you couldn't apply for the third one in the cabana, because you're only allowed two in the town.
Right.
So therefore, the
But you could get a
second.
cabana permit.
Correct.
All right, you know what?
All right.
I get it.
We get it.
Okay, I
All
get
right,
it.
we're trying to fix a
And-
mess. is what
No,
we're trying
right,
to
and
do.
so we
All
can
right.
run around in circles and we'll end up in the same spot.
That's all I needed was a
We-
straight answer on that.
Okay, Ben, do you have anything else that you want to add?
No, no.
No. Bill?
No.
Hannah?
I don't know, is there a pool? I don't know.
Is there a pool? Well,
Why do we have a cabana?
wait,
There was a pool at one time.
There was a pool.
and you feel,
Yes.
About the same time, 8 or 9 years
all right.
Okay,
So-
so that's why.
Are you all set, Steve?
Well, I'd like to hear from Karen in terms of requirements here, so.
We have-
I assume you looked at it, so.
Yeah, we have a draft motion and findings of fact.
Okay. All right, Patty, you, what?
Mind if I ask a
Well-
question or two about this?
Maybe.
So the cabana is this,
Yes.
this thing?
That's correct.
Okay. And there's no modifications being planned to it?
Not at all.
And I see the initial sort of means of egress. Where's the second one?
The double door that goes out on the east side and on the west side, the single.
Double door on the east side. To the deck?
To the
Yeah.
deck, to the deck,
And is the deck at ground level?
yes.
Okay.
Right, that's good.
So it's coming out here?
Right.
Okay. All right. And how is this connected to, or how is the sewer handle? Is it connected to town sewer? Is
It's
it,
the town sewer, yes. Both dwellings.
both are connected to town sewer? How about water?
Same.
Okay, so they have their existing separate feeds right now. Okay. In the parking,
There's room for at least half a dozen.
I've seen it. It's a big
Okay.
courtyard,
Yeah,
if you will.
uh-huh,
Huge.
okay. And there's no other new construction here, so it's not an issue from a neighbor's point of view, well, unless there are neighbors here, I guess.
I don't see any.
I wouldn't know them if.
Are you a neighbor? Would you like to speak, sir?
I would.
Then, please identify yourself.
My name is Ken Conway. I live at 15 Eagles Nest, so I'm direct abutter of Dr. Snyder's. The reason I'm here myself is basically to ask we'll make a statement, ask two questions. The statement is, the taxes are getting so high over the course now. I understand why that Dr. Snyder and other people are trying to figure out how to do this. The real question I have is, my interest is now peaked to do that at my place. And so the question I have is, since I have a very large garage, which I could call that an accessory dwelling if we did the right thing, and I have a fairly large home. So what I want to understand is, what do you not have to have in an apartment so that you don't call it an accessory dwelling in the main house?
Excuse me?
I'm not-
I
I'm
don't
not-
understand.
Yeah, I don't understand
So
your
I would
question.
like to put an apartment in my house,
In your house.
the way Dr. Snyder has.
He's not put an apartment in his house.
He already has one. That's why I want to learn how to do it. I want to know exactly what I have to do, so I can do exactly the same
He
thing.
doesn't, the building commissioners have said that the kitchen in the primary dwelling has been decommissioned.
Okay,
So
okay,
this
good.
is a separate, the cabana is now being a separate legal entity for a detached unit. So I think if, maybe, I might suggest if he has questions on that type of building, he really ought to talk to the
Right.
building commissioner.
This is out of our pay grade.
Wow.
I mean, we have the zoning
We only
bylaw,
allow one accessory dwelling.
and
That's
that's
right.
why, that's why he's permitting this as the cabana, turning it into a second legal unit.
I get that part. What I'm just trying to be clear on, so I know how to do it, is when I put an apartment in my main house and have whatever you defined as decommissioning a kitchen, so what am I allowed to have? Can I have a stove, or can I have a hot plate?
Are you going to use it as an accessory apartment, which means it needs a place of entrance and a place of exit? It can
Needs
only be
parking,
so many
needs
square
parking.
feet in relationship to the main house. It has to be subservient to the main house, and you have to go through the hoops necessary in order to do that. So if you wanted to turn your garage into an
Well, I'd like
accessory
to do
apartment,
both.
you can't. You are not allowed
You
to
only
do
have
both.
one.
You can only,
It's existing right now,
What-
next door to me.
no, it is not, sir. It is
It's
not,
existing as an apartment,
not anymore.
accessory dwelling, right?
Well, it's an apartment without a kitchen.
That is something you can take up with the building inspector.
I'm all for it. I'm just trying to find out how to do it legally myself.
Well,
Department.
you'll have to talk to the
This is
building.
gonna be my precedent.
This is not a precedent, sir.
Sure it is.
I
There's
would
only
suggest you
two-
do it in two steps. First, you create a cabana.
Right,
And get a certificate of occupancy for it.
and then go from there.
So I'm a little confused. Was the primary dwelling actually split into two dwelling units? And now we've decommissioned the kitchen, so it's a single dwelling unit now?
Yes, the primary dwelling, which he has certified, is a single unit, and the cabana will be
A single
a
unit.
single unit, so it's,
So
you're
you
allowed
want two
two.
kitchens in your
I'm
house at
asking,
one
is
time?
that, is that's what
I had that.
transpired? Is it was an apartment, it's now been decommissioned as an
Yes.
apartment?
Yes,
It's a single dwelling,
it's a single dwelling.
not ever to return as an apartment,
That's
right?
correct.
Yep.
That's correct.
which we should make sure is clear in our
Yeah,
decision,
which comes, yep.
right? I didn't realize that was part of the game
Did
here.
you have an accessory apartment permit for the second apartment in your main dwelling?
No, I did not. I mean, again, this came up along the way. That's why I decommissioned the upstairs kitchen, so that was, it conformed.
That's why he withdrew the last accessory dwelling special permit application, because you're allowed two legal units on your property, a primary and an accessory unit.
Okay. All right. Steve?
I don't-
I don't have any other questions. I'm now getting the full story here.
Now we know. Are you all set, sir?
I just wanted on the record that I am taking this as a precedent.
Well, be that as,
Precedent for what?
for you
That
to do what
there's-
you,
That I could have an apartment that doesn't have a kitchen in the main house with an outside entryway.
no,
And
no,
You can't have
no,
that.
you
That's what
can't.
you have right now.
No, we
You
don't.
Don't.
You do have
This
that.
primary dwelling is a primary dwelling. It's not a dwelling and an apartment. And it cannot be used that way.
It's an apartment without a kitchen.
No, it's
There's
a
renter
run.
there.
It cannot be
No.
used that way.
Okay, well then,
So if there is a renter, you're going to have to get rid of the renter.
he doesn't want to do that. I mean, I don't want him to get rid of the renter.
But I'm telling you that you only have a primary and an accessory dwelling possible.
And
there.
that's not up to
In
us.
fact, you actually have two right now because you apparently have a certificate of occupancy for a cabana. Right? So
Okay.
is it your intent to eliminate a renter here?
There'll be no renter, and I don't want anybody running the cabana, and same for the,
I mean, for what was the apartment.
no, I don't want a renter, no, I do not want a
So you
renter.
don't have one now.
I do have one now.
And what happens to
And
him?
when is he leaving?
Well, I don't know that. Exactly, I don't know.
Okay.
Curiouser and curiouser.
I think the cabana meets the.
All right,
definition
and we're
of
here
a
about the
detached
cabana,
accessory
not
dwelling.
about the main house.
That's correct.
No,
Building.
we're here about everything.
I think we
right?
gotta indicate that we're decommissioning an illegal apartment in that house.
Yes,
Yes.
I would completely agree with you there.
Okay.
I mean, I think
And
that's
in fact,
exactly.
I would go as far as to say we don't issue an occupancy permit for an
It's-
accessory dwelling until,
It's decommissioned. I have a email from the building commissioner today.
there's a person in it.
In the cabana,
No, in the main house. He just told us that.
this is the documentation I have.
Right, well, he just testified to that effect, that there's a renter in his current primary dwelling.
All right, I'm
Which is
going,
what I would have had.
would you stop? That's, seriously, sir. I think what we need, I would suggest, I don't know if you all would agree with me, I am not sure that we can grant you an accessory apartment while you still have a renter in your main space. Yes, sir.
If I may, the state law says that, number one, a dwelling unit consists of three things: sanitation, cooking, and sleeping. When you remove a kitchen and people go to eat in that primary residence, it's one single unit. You can have up to four people, and then it becomes a boarding house. Yeah, four unrelated people. He has three friends that live in his home. There's, how many bedrooms? There's four. There's 4 bedrooms, 1 kitchen, and bathrooms. It's a single dwelling unit.
I understand that part. Yes, I
And
do.
that's the state law.
Yes, yes. I mean, if
So-
I wanted to bring someone into my house and rent a
If you-
bedroom, I could.
Or if you want to have relatives or whatever, as long as it's, you can have 4 unrelated people, and after 4, you have to apply for a lodging house.
Okay, all right.
Under state law.
What does the town bylaw say?
It doesn't.
There's no such
No.
thing as this town bylaw for,
There is a town bylaw.
under an accessory.
We have an accessory dwelling town bylaw.
Correct. That's right.
Okay, I understand what's going on here. I really do. Therefore, I think that you have answered the necessary questions. And if he has individuals living there, and they may be paying him rent for a room, they're all using the same kitchen,
Correct.
et cetera,
Correct.
then there's nothing that you can do to prevent that, and that's his choice.
Correct.
It's his house.
Correct.
And now he's legitimizing the cabana, so that becomes a legitimized
Correct.
accessory apartment.
Correct.
Okay, that's it, I think, in a nutshell. We shall move on.
Well, I would just say that this feels like this is a way of circumventing the current situation he has.
The kitchen has been decommissioned, so, I mean, this is an attempt to make it a legal living unit.
Right.
I don't have a problem with it, Steve, I really don't.
I do think that this opens an issue that we need to be more proactive from the planning side of dealing with like short-term rentals.
Right,
and rent-
Airbnbs,
all of this.
that type of thing,
Um,
yes.
So
Is this a
it's not.
short-term rental? Is this a short-term rental, or is this person paying on has this person been here for a long time?
He's been there for a number of years, yes.
Right.
This is no Airbnb.
No, my,
And the cabana is not going to be used as an Airbnb or any rental at all.
Well, actually, the point of the accessory dwelling is, once it's an accessory dwelling, you can use it and rent it.
And just to mention the intent of what I'm going to do with it.
Now, I understand, but by law, you would be able to rent it.
Mr. Pritchard, this here couldn't be rented because you couldn't
too
live in here.
Ye-
It doesn't, it's so small that it doesn't even have a
I'm just
closet.
telling you what legally an approved accessory dwelling permit would allow them to do under our bylaw, which is to rent it,
Right.
regardless of whether you intend to do it or not. Right. The next person who buys your house might intend to rent it, right?
Yes.
And our bylaw allows for the applicant to have to live on property in the primary or the accessory dwelling.
Right,
Right.
so,
And he has certified that in his application.
okay, all right.
But I'm actually creating 2 things. One is I'm creating the change from this cabana to an accessory dwelling.
That's correct.
But I'm also changing the house from having an
Unregistered apartment,
unregistered apartment.
unregistered accessory dwelling, actually, right?
Because I don't know what prevents them from coming back and putting a 3rd or a 4th person in that main building.
Or putting the kitchen back in.
Cannot have another kitchen.
No, I mean, we've already said that.
All right, I'll entertain a motion, please. Patty?
I move to make the following findings of fact. On July 30th, 2018, Harry Dennis Snyder applied for a special permit for an accessory dwelling in a detached structure on the property of 10 Driftway. The existing cabana is proposed to be used as a detached accessory dwelling unit. 2, based on a floor plan submitted by the applicant, the interior floor space of the proposed accessory dwelling will be approximately 260 square feet. The accessory dwelling is below 750 square feet and meets the size requirements of 530.2 feet of the zoning bylaw for accessory dwellings. 3, the as-built building location plan number 10 Old Driftway dated 6/29/2010 shows a garage and paved driveway which appears capable of providing 2 outside parking spaces. This appears adequate to provide 2 parking spaces for the accessory dwelling and parking for the primary dwelling. 4, the owner has submitted a signed notarized statement that he will occupy one of the dwelling units on the property. 5, the main dwelling and the accessory dwelling will be serviced by town sewer and water. 6, the accessory dwelling is a separate housekeeping unit and there is only one accessory dwelling on the lot. 7, the detached accessory dwelling in the existing cabana complies with all required setback, building height, and yard requirements for a primary structure. And 8, the application meets the standards of the Scituate zoning bylaw for an accessory dwelling special permit.
Okay, is there a second to the finding of fact?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
I have discussion here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. One of the findings of facts that we ought to identify here is that the applicant has decommissioned a second kitchen in the primary dwelling, and that kitchen shall not be recommissioned
In the primary.
in the primary house.
Yep, that's fine.
Sounds good.
And I have a question for you, Karen.
Sure.
The statement that an individual can rent their house as if it were multiple apartments, are you comfortable that's consistent with state law?
Well, you can rent a primary or accessory dwelling.
No, I'm
that's
saying
what I'm
part of it.
saying. That's what I'm saying. You can rent the primary or accessory dwelling, and the applicant has certified that he will live on-site in the primary or accessory
The
dwelling.
gentleman here just said that in a primary dwelling, you can rent parts of a primary dwelling. Is that true?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, we have that situation down on,
I'm just saying, is that in fact state law?
I don't know the answer to that question because it wasn't, to me, part of the application.
all right. The findings of facts have been amended. All those in favor?
How's the amendment?
The applicant has decommissioned the kitchen in the primary dwelling and shall not be allowed to recommission a second kitchen in the primary dwelling.
I think it is not, shall not be allowed, has stated he will not, right?
Yes.
If it's a fact, the finding of fact, the fact is, the applicant has said he's decommissioned the second kitchen and will not recommission it.
Will not recommission it, okay. All right,
And what precludes him from coming back and renting the other bedrooms in the primary?
nothing, there's nothing we can do about that.
Well, that was the question I'm
I
asking.
understand that, and that's what these Airbnb,
I believe that would be perhaps a zoning violation, and the zoning enforcement officer
Right.
would take care of that.
Yep.
You're allowed two
I'm
legal.
hearing a different
But
comment
it's
about it,
not-
that's why I'm
it's-
asking.
He's allowed two legal separate dwelling units on the property, and that's what he's saying that he has.
whether he's renting,
Okay.
But
And
Well,
I-
then I think we'll ask for a condition that says that we won't issue an occupancy permit until we're sure there's no renters in the primary dwelling.
I
don't-
don't
I
think you can
I
do
don't-
that.
Why not?
Well,
You just said
according,
it's,
but according to the state law that
State law,
the
yeah.
applicant's consultant brought up, as long as they're under 4 unrelated people, then they can rent that, as long as they're cohabitating. They can't have their own
that was the question I
kitchen
was
and-
asking Karen, is
They have
that
to be
in
living
fact
to-
state law?
Oh, right, we don't know that, no.
That's the building department's
Yeah.
responsibility.
Purview.
That's not the.
not ours.
That's not our responsibility.
Well, they've testified to it here in support of this particular application. That's why I'm saying, is that true? Is that in fact the case?
We are, I think, we can have a discussion with the zoning enforcement officer at a later date, but the application in front of us is for an accessory apartment, one dwelling unit, and the main house is one dwelling unit. what this gentleman does in that house is, in my opinion, none of our business. It really isn't.
It's the zoning enforcement officer.
It's the zoning enforcement.
But I think it's a matter
This
of
gentleman
fact.
just told us what he's doing with it, so
But
it is
that's-
now our business, right?
All right, then would
And-
you like
and-
to deny this then?
I would like to get the answer to my question, and if it takes another 2 weeks to do that, I'm fine
All
with
right.
doing it.
If I could add something, when the decommission of the second kitchen in the primary unit, both Neil Duggan and Bob were there, also your plumbing inspector. They all signed off on it, and it was decommissioned. It's the end of the story. They're aware that, there is people that live with Mr. Snyder. And like I said, they know how many people are there. They know what the law is. I've told you what the law is. There's no reason for me to go on the record here and say something that is, like I said, I was the supervisor of the state building inspectors in charge of all 351 towns and communities. So I don't think I'd come in front of this board and give you something that was not the whole truth. So in that, we're dealing with a primary residence that has one kitchen, and yes, there are 3 unrelated people living in that dwelling unit,
Renting it.
renting, whatever, it doesn't matter, there's 3. You can have 3 people living in your house as long as you have 3 things: sleeping, kitchen, and sanitation. So that other kitchen was removed, so there is not 2 separate, you understand what I'm saying? There's not 2
I
separate.
I understand what you're saying.
Right.
And,
Right.
and
So-
I would be happy to write a condition in here that if, in fact, that is the case in state law,
Right.
and we can't do anything about it, then
Right.
fine. If it's not,
Right.
then
Well, again, I mean, you can write,
draw the permit.
yeah, I mean, you can write, I mean, it's your prerogative to write it in, obviously, but I think that what Mr. Snyder's done is, he was issued this thing a long time ago and given a CO, which never should have happened. It should have, the CO should have never been issued. And because he did have a second kitchen in that did make it illegal. It made it 3. So by decommissioning the one in the primary residence, it makes it 1, and then you have a separate accessory dwelling unit, which is under your laws and your bylaws. So he's
It's
done.
not legal yet.
No, I'm saying,
No.
that's what you're asking for, that's what
That's
the
what you're
building.
asking for.
No, that's what the
That's what
building
he's in for the
official has
permit.
asked
That's
for.
what
That's why he's in for the
That's
permit.
why
for
he's
the
in
That,
for
that's what I get, I
detached
get that, right? It could qualify as an accessory dwelling. It is not an accessory dwelling because it has no special permit in the town, right?
What are you talking about? I'm not sure I understand.
He's talking about the cabana.
And so he's
No.
trying to
No, he's-
legalize it
no,
as
he's
an
talking about-
I
accessory
get that.
dwelling unit.
I get
which-
that, right?
which,
And we had the other side of the coin, which is he had essentially an illegal accessory dwelling
he's
in the
trying to-
primary house.
So he decommissioned the kitchen in the primary
So
house.
he's
and
I get
trying
you.
to legalize it after the fact, which we have many people, unfortunately, that happens to, and he's
Well, he
trying to
could
do the right
legalize
thing.
that, right?
You know what? We are going around in a circle here. And the point is, we are here to either approve or disapprove an accessory apartment in a cabana that meets all of the rules and regulations of the town of Scituate. And the building inspectors have signed off on this. Whatever goes on in the primary dwelling is up to the owner of the primary dwelling. So, we have added to the facts, the applicant has decommissioned a kitchen in the primary house, our primary unit, and will not be recommissioning it. I will entertain a vote on the findings of fact as amended. Is there further discussion?
The amendment, I'm still back to where I was a minute ago. What does the amendment actually say?
That he's decommissioned the kitchen in the primary house,
A second kitchen.
a second kitchen, decommissioned a second kitchen in the primary house, and will not recommission the second kitchen.
So he's effectively removing the accessory dwelling within the house.
Yes.
And that's why he withdrew the
Never to
application
return.
before.
Never to return.
Well, I'm not sure how it never returns.
Well, then if we give him a permit for the cabana, he can't have another accessory
That's right,
dwelling.
you're allowed 2 legal living units on your property.
That's it.
Yep.
Okay?
So you're gonna add that, we added the statement that it's decommissioned?
Yes.
Yes.
We did. Okay. All right, is there a vote here, please? All those in favor of the findings of fact as amended, please say aye or nay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It's passed. Okay, continue, Patty.
I move to approve the special permit for a detached accessory dwelling at 10 Ridgeway with the following conditions, in addition to the standard conditions for accessory dwellings approved by the planning board after a public hearing on 12/17/15. 1, except for any changes necessary to meet these conditions, any construction shall conform to the plans attached to this decision. 2, the footprint, number of bedrooms, and/or square footage of the detached accessory dwelling shall not be increased without prior approval of the planning board. 3, the accessory dwelling shall conform to all applicable standards in the building, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, fire, and health codes and bylaws. 4, construction work shall not begin prior to 7 a.m. weekdays and 8 a.m. on Saturdays, and shall cease no later than 7 p.m. or sunset, whichever is earlier. No construction shall take place on Sundays and/or legal federal holidays. Construction includes idling of vehicles, delivery of materials to the site, and all other construction activities. 5, the standard conditions for accessory dwellings approved by the planning board shall be conditions of this decision and shall be included for recording at the Registry of Deeds.
Is there a second?
For discussion, sure.
I have for discussion.
Yes, discussion.
So why are we talking about construction?
It's part of the,
We just heard there's no construction.
Right.
So why do we have anything about construction here?
I think it's part
It's a
of,
draft decision, it's up to you, if
we
you.
can take it out.
You know, let's take it out if that's,
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, there's no
You're not
construction.
constructing anything, right?
Could indicate no construction is planned.
Okay.
so except for any changes necessary to meet these conditions, no construction is planned?
Yes.
Yes.
It could say, changes necessary to meet these conditions. If changes necessary to meet these conditions require construction, that construction shall conform, right?
Changes necessary to meet these conditions?
Require construction.
If any construction is required, I think we're getting a little redundant here.
Now, if any changes are necessary to meet these conditions, changes necessary to meet these conditions that require construction, such construction shall conform to the plans attached to this decision. I mean, there's, the plans attached to this decision are essentially a cartoon.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I have one concern with that, and that is if you're saying that there can be no future construction on that property, according to this, I believe what you're saying is, down the road, Dr. Snyder wants to put an addition onto his house. If he has all the required setbacks and so forth, now, if that's recorded that way,
This is.
This is for the accessory
This is
dwelling.
just
for the accessory
that-
dwelling?
Not for the main house,
Right.
not at all,
Super, thank you,
all right?
thank you.
All right, Bill?
Yeah, I'm just looking at Jennifer's letter. And particularly the last paragraph, it says,
Yes, I saw that.
Further, if either of the primary resident or potential future accessory dwelling is granted, become a rental unit in the future, it must meet the requirements of State Sanitary Code, Chapter 11, or 2, I guess, as well as Section 30350, the Housing Bylaw, Code of General Bylaws.
I'd make that number 6.
Well, it's gotta be worded, we got it. It says, if either the primary residence or potential future accessory dwelling is to become a rental unit in the future, it must meet the requirements.
I think you have to sort of bifurcate this, right? It says, if the primary residence is, then it has to meet the requirements. The accessory dwelling, by its nature, is a rental unit, right? By town bylaw, it's a rental unit, right?
No
So it
argument.
has to meet the requirements of the state sanitary code, et cetera. Right?
Yep.
So I think that's how you have to split it up. That's what I would say.
I can do that.
So what's your verbiage?
So if the primary residence is to become a rental unit in the future, it must meet the requirements of the sanitary,
State code.
et cetera, yada, yada, yada. The accessory dwelling must also meet the requirements. We're not talking about it becoming a rental unit in the future. It is a rental unit by the nature of being an accessory dwelling.
Okay.
How many baths in the, how many baths in the primary residence? How many bathrooms? 3. So we couldn't go to 4 in that unit anyway.
Are you all set, Bill?
Yep.
Steve?
I'd like to add another condition to this, proposed to, and something to the effect that the use of the primary dwelling, I'd like to confirm this comment that's been made here about multiple rentals in the primary unit. And we can make it a condition.
I have a problem with that,
Why?
because I think that's invasive. I really do.
He's talked about it.
He can talk about it if he wants to, and he has people that are living there. That's up to him. He has 1 kitchen with 3 bathrooms and 4 bedrooms. So,
Yeah.
you know, if
And
he...
it was an accessory, an illegal accessory
And now
dwelling.
it is a legal unit.
It's either a primary residence or an accessory dwelling. It's one of the two.
It's the
There's a
primary
and he's
unit.
asking for this detached unit to be a
Right.
detached accessory dwelling.
That's
I get that.
all.
That's what he's asking for.
And he's testifying here today that the primary unit, as it's being used, which really as an illegal accessory dwelling, can be used as a multiple rental
It
unit.
does not, they decommissioned the second kitchen, so this
He
is what,
said he's got 3 people renting.
That's
That's fine,
That's
that's a state
fine.
law.
It's law.
You know that for a fact?
I do,
Okay.
because I do know
All right,
that.
well, I would like someone to confirm that for me, all right?
but
I'd
you
like
don't-
to see the state law.
Then
I
I think
don't know that for a fact.
I want to get, you can either abstain or vote no. That's your choice. I'm going to bring this to a vote as amended. All those in favor of this special permit for the cabana, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Bill?
Aye.
Steve?
Go ahead. Next, signify by saying nay.
Nay?
Nay.
Fine. It's 4 to 1. You have your permit. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, quickly, we are moving to, where's my, whatever go? Continuation of a public hearing, or a, whatever it is. You know, can't find it, it disappeared. Site plan administrative review for continued public hearing for scenic road shade trees 92 Neilgate is to be continued for the common driveway. Would you read the motion,
I
please?
move to accept the applicant's request to continue the site plan administrative review public meeting and scenic road public shade tree public hearing for the proposed common driveway at 92 Neilgate Street until September 27, 2018 at 7 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It passes. Thank you. All right. And now we have Gunther Tooties.
Okay.
Okay.
Paul Rodricks representing Gunther Tooties.
Aye.
Hi.
Hello.
Here you are again, and hopefully
Yeah.
this is it.
I hope so.
Me too. So, Karen,
Since the last meeting, we have, we got a comment today, which I forwarded to you as well as the applicant about some sewer stuff, which I put in a draft decision. And we, the applicant has put a little bit of crushed stone where the roof drain, the gutter is gonna come into the pavement, to the island area to help, have the water seep into the ground.
all right? Do you have your permit to rip the place down?
Do we have what?
Your permit to tear?
Demolition.
Your demolition.
We do not have one, no. It's condition of that this is approved.
Okay. All right. Has he met everything that we asked him to do last time?
I believe he has, but it's a draft for your working on as we go through it tonight.
Okay,
Okay.
fine. Does Patty have the current draft?
Oh,
Here we go.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good thing we're not making the bagels.
Good thing we're not what?
Making the
Making the
bagels.
bacon.
I know, seriously. They'd be burned at this point. Okay, we'll go through this, read it, and,
All right.
okay.
I move that the planning board make the following finding of fact. Number one, the applicant submitted a site plan entitled Site Plan of Land 52 Country Way, Scituate, Mass, Sheets 1-1, dated 5/29/18 with revisions through 9/12/18 by John S. Keefe, professional land surveyor of Keefe Associates for camp construction. Architectural plans revised dated 8/20/2018 by Architect Sheets A0, A1, A2, A3, A4, preliminary only, not for construction. The applicant shall meet the current applicant in all its successors and interest to the applicant. Oh, did that come out right? Okay. 2, the property is 20,560 square foot lot with an existing one-story restaurant with 16 interior seats and is located in the Scituate Business District, Village Business Overlay District, and Water Resource Protection District, with a portion of the site in Zone A. 3, Stockbridge Road is to the north of the property. A mixed-use development at 50 Country Way with 30 residential units is to the east and south of the property. A shared access and utility easement on the 52 Country Way property divides access and some underground utilities to both sites. Country Way is to the west of the property. The new building is being redeveloped in the same location as the existing one-story restaurant building after reinforcing the existing foundation and pouring a new slab, as the existing building does not have reinforced walls to allow for the addition of a second story. The adjoining premises that could be most affected will be protected against detrimental or offensive uses of the site. The site plan meets the standard of review of Scituate zoning bylaws, section 770.6, paragraph A. 4, the Scituate zoning bylaws, section 760.6, table of minimal parking requirements requires 1 parking space per 4 seats. 16 interior seats are provided, requiring 4 parking spaces. 4 exterior seats are provided requiring 1 space. The second floor contains 1,041 square feet of storage requiring 1 space per 600 square feet, or 2 spaces in the office space requires 1 space per 300 square feet, or 1 space. There are 8 existing parking spaces on site and 10 proposed spaces total, including 1 handicap parking space. The parking appears to be sufficient for the proposed use. The shared entrance has a 24-foot width. Loading and unloading of supplies and materials will be to the rear of the building, away from pedestrians. Traffic circulation through the drive-through will be one-way. The applicant has relocated the drive-up speaker with canopy to the rear of the cooler to provide additional car stacking room. A sign will be added to the plan to indicate traffic flow entering the drive-through and shall not block the main entrance egress at any time. The site plan meets the standard of review of Scituate zoning bylaws, section 770.6B and C for traffic safety, ease of access, pedestrian safety, minimizing glare and access for service and emergency vehicles. 5, the existing building is currently connected to public water and sewer. The new building will be connected to the public sewer water and public water in the same location as the existing building. A new dumpster pad is being added to service the building, and there is a fire hydrant across the driveway on the 50 Country Way property. The site plan meets the standard of review of Scituate zoning bylaws, section 770.6D for adequacy of methods of waste disposal, adequacy of water supply, and firefighting facilities on the site. 6, there are no changes to the existing stormwater system. According to the applicant's plan, there will be a decrease in impervious area in the Zone A from 5,141 square feet to 3,297 square feet, or a 35.9% reduction from the existing. There will also be a net decrease in impervious area on the site by 43.7% from the existing conditions. As required under the 50 Country Way project, the ongoing and perpetual inspections, maintenance, and repairs of stormwater devices in the access and utility easement as necessary shall be performed by the Property Owners Association of 50 Country Way, and such actions shall be allowed by the owner of 52 Country Way. No toxic or hazardous materials will be stored on site. The site plan meets the standard of Scituate zoning bylaw, section 770.6 E and F for adequacy of stormwater management and control of toxic and hazardous materials in the Water Resource Protection District. 7, minimal site grading is proposed as the site is relatively flat. There will be 3 shade trees installed in the access and utility easement by the developer of the 50 Country Way project. The dumpster will be enclosed on 4 sides. No additional lighting is proposed for the site beyond the gooseneck lights on the building. A bicycle rack will be installed. The site plan meets the standards of Scituate zoning bylaw, section 770.6 G, H, I, and J. 8, the site plan entitled Proposed Site Plan 52 Country Way, Scituate, Mass, sheets 1-1, dated 5/29/18, with revisions through 8/21/12 by John S. Keefe, professional land surveyor for camp construction, meets the requirements of the Town of Scituate zoning bylaw 770.6. Site plan review standards of review to a degree consistent with reasonable use of the site for the purpose permitted by the regulations of the district in which the land is located.
The second on number 8, the second with revisions through 9/12/18.
9/12, okay. Okay. Decision. Based on these findings of fact and the evidence and testimony received at the public hearing, I move to approve the site plan administrative review for Gunther Tooties at 52 Country Way with the following conditions. General requirements. Number 1, all site work shall be in substantial accordance with the site plan entitled Proposed Site Plan 52 Country Way, Scituate, Mass, sheets 1-1 dated 5/29/18, with revisions through 9/12/18.
Excuse me, should we not vote on the finding of facts?
Oh, yeah.
You can vote on the finding of facts, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion. We have a motion on the findings of fact. Is there a second for discussion?
Sure.
Okay, discussion on the findings of fact. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. We shall continue with the decision.
Okay, so I will pick up with revisions through 9/12/18 by John S. Key, professional land surveyor for camp construction and architectural plans revised dated 8/20/2018 by architect sheets A0, A1, A2, A3, A4, preliminary only, not for construction, with any additional revisions needed to conform to the conditions contained herein. Number 2, where construction or use requires approval, permitting, or licensing from any local, state, or federal agency, such required approvals, permitting, or licensing is deemed a condition of this approval, including but not limited to approvals from the Board of Health to operate a food establishment, documentation required for demolition from the Board of Health and Building Department, and approval from DPW for maintained sewer and water flows. All necessary permits and approvals must be received prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for this site. 3, construction shall meet all requirements in number 2 above, including but not limited to the requirements of the Scituate zoning bylaws and state building code. Utilities, parking, and traffic. 4, as required under the 50 Country Way project, the ongoing and perpetual inspections, maintenance, and repairs of stormwater devices in the access and utility easement as necessary shall be performed according to the declaration of the property owner pursuant to the special permit condition for 50 Country Way. Maintenance and repair of the driveway and curbing as shown on the 50 Country Way plan, and snow removal and maintenance of safe conditions in the winter are also included in the declaration of the 50 Country Way declaration. Where and as applicable, the applicant shall adhere to the aforementioned requirements. 5, compliance with the DPW sewer division comments that the external grease trap be pumped out and inspected to verify it is in good condition. Ensure that only the restrooms are connected to the sewer line, and all other drains, sinks, etc. must connect to the external grease trap. And they recommend camera the private line from the external grease trap to verify the pipe is in good condition and is not impaired. 6, no new underground irrigation system shall be allowed to connect to the town's water distribution system or in any manner use municipal water in accordance with the policy made effective by the Board of Selectmen on October 8, 2014. All irrigation systems installed in accordance with the policy must be supplied by on-site sources at the expense of the property owner. 7, all parking will be constructed as shown on the site plan. 8, the 52 Country Way building, parking, and required signage shall meet all requirements of the ADA and AAB. 9, the applicant shall obtain the prior approval of the planning board through the town planner if minor changes from the plan and/or details are needed for lighting, signage, or landscaping. 10, a separate sign permit shall be required from the building department for the freestanding entry sign. The proposed sign shall be in substantial conformance to the proposed sign attached herein and be fully located on the applicant's property and shall not block sight lines for the traffic entry and egress. 11, the loading delivering area shall be maintained in a manner so delivery trucks will not block access into or through the parking area or the drive-through lane. 12, one-way signs, do not block road signs, and drive-through signs shall be installed as shown on the plans. 13, trash shall be handled in a covered dumpster and emptied at least once a week or more frequently as necessary or as otherwise directed by the Board of Health. The dumpster pad shall be fenced on 4 sides. 14, roof drainage from the south side of the building will be directed to a recharge area of crushed stone 12 inches deep inside the island to disperse the runoff on the applicant's property. Required during construction. 15, construction work shall not begin prior to 7 a.m. weekdays and 8 a.m. on Saturdays and shall cease no later than 7 p.m. or sunset, whichever is earlier. No construction shall take place on Sundays or legal federal holidays. 16, no parking or unloading on Country Way shall be permitted during construction. Moreover, clear access to the site driveway and access and utility easement must be maintained at all times. 17, the owner of 52 Country Way must notify the owner of 50 Country Way a minimum of 3 business days prior to installation of any additional curbing to be placed within the access and utility easement. The curbing work shall not begin before 9 a.m. Administration. 18, this site plan shall lapse within 2 years from the date of its issuance unless substantial use or construction has commenced prior to that time in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9.
Is there a second for discussion? All right, discussion. Ben?
I don't really have anything.
Okay, Steve?
No, this already has all the comments I gave you in it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Bill?
Almost done.
Patty?
All set.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? You're all set.
Thank you.
Didn't think you'd ever make it.
It was a,
Long process.
yeah, but you're done. Thank you so much. Good luck. All right, moving on to, old business, new business, correspondence, et cetera, et cetera. I think what we'll do, if it's all right with all of you, to take, because she's here, the McDonald Farm recommendation out of order. Good evening.
Hi,
Hi, would you please identify yourself for the record?
my name is Mary Jenkins. I live at 22 Sunset Road, Scituate.
Thank you. And would you please explain why you are here this evening?
I am here to ask the board for a letter of recommendation that they agree with purchasing the parcel out on First Cliff known as 23 Sunset Road, or the McDonald Farm. The farm has been in my family since the 1800s, and it is 5 acres of open space that jut out into the harbor. It's what you look at when you're sitting at Finn's, Lucky Finn's, or TK's, or the Mill Wharf, as all that open space with 600 feet of beach. And we currently have the application in front of Community Preservation, and they've asked us to do a bunch of things which we are in the process of working on. I'm in partnership with Wildland Trust and NOAA, who have been helping. This is actually the 3rd time this has been in front of CPC. But now all the ducks are lined up with what they requested the first 2 times, with pricing and the amount of land and things like that. The family has 4 main principal executorships of all my cousins. And we are getting everything in line for the community preservation, including title clearance, legal counsel on that, and making sure that we have the letters of recommendation from the different boards. We have checked off historical and recreation and open space on this for CPC. And I have just had discussions with Dave Ball regarding the mossing aspect for under historical, the old farming aspect and things like that. Recreation, there's in your packet that I sent, I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at it online. There was a conceptualized pathway that was put together by NOAA, one of the last times we did it, and it's conceptualized as to how things could be done. And so far, everybody has been really excited about the project.
Okay, thank you. I attended the CPC meeting Monday night. It was a little contentious, but we're trying, or CPC hopefully will be putting this on the November special town meeting for a vote. The price on this property has decreased from $3 million to $599,000. There's, this issues about the low appraisal as opposed to the high appraisal, no building, one dwelling, but the trustees have set the price at $599,000. There is no negotiation.
What does the no building, one dwelling thing mean?
What it means is that there is the possibility of one house on this 5-acre parcel, one, and that's it.
And that's if they go
That would be,
through all of this.
are we talking about town land? You'd put a house on town
No,
land?
No.
this is land that is owned by the family. 5 acres of land is owned by my family out there.
Right.
And
Isn't that what
on
you're trying to sell?
To us, yes.
I think what
Yeah.
they're saying is by being able to put a housing unit on it, it affects the value of the property.
Right.
The appraised value of the property.
The appraised value of the property,
So what's the 532? Is that with
Five.
or without a house?
$599 is the price that is on the listing currently. The two appraisals that are listed in the application, there's a low and a high. The low would be just straight open space, the high of 820,000 is with a building on it, or built. I think some of those are off, but they will be talking to, CPC will be talking to the appraiser at the next meeting. There's a couple of things I brought that aren't in your packet. I did send it to the secretary, but it was, this is some stuff that I've worked on with Coastal Coalition, with FEMA CRS program, which gives credit to towns for doing certain things, like purchasing marginally buildable property and getting credit for it to keep our 15% discount on our flood insurance. And they have a whole point system they have implemented in the last couple of years to allow towns to get some credit for making purchases like this, keeping the space open. And that is probably going to be happening more and more as things goes down the line. But there is not really anything left in Scituate as far as the significance of this property left as open space. The conceptualized pathway, it's a stunning piece of property. I've walked it for years. On one side, you see the sunrise. You walk over on the other, and you can see the sunset, both over the water. There's a multitude of wildlife. NOAA has run some educational stuff. People surf there, they walk there, and they don't know it's private property. It would be nice to be able to allow that to happen for the townspeople.
Okay. This would, if CPC were to purchase this property, they would finally be purchasing property for open space east of 3A. We have spent a tremendous amount of money west of 3A and very little east of 3A. Plus, it's also the view. I mean, when you're sitting at the Mill Wharf, if that's where you want to sit, it's an unobstructed view. And I think it's a premium that we need to think about. So I'll open it to the board for discussion. Ben?
I absolutely agree that this parcel would be great for the town. I think that one of my, as somebody who does a lot of fishing and surfing and shellfishing and everything, one of my biggest issues with our town is that there's very restricted access to utilize our coastline and enjoy our coastline. And it seems as houses get bigger and more expansive, that opportunity is even more and more getting lost. So I think it would be great in terms of the recreation aspect, and then I also think it would be great in terms of the open space aspect because of some of these issues here about preserving the floodplain area, and also just for passive recreation and for, whatever wildlife and stuff lives out on the First Cliff area.
There's snowy owls, there's deer, there's coyotes, there's foxes, there's a golden eagle, a white, great.
So there's a bald eagle.
Bald eagle.
That flies around the area as well.
This is my daughter Heather.
Hello, I'm Heather Jenkins. I am her daughter. It has a wide variety of different salt marsh vegetation. It's also an area that's actually becoming slowly reclaiming some marsh areas that's really exciting. It's a good place to see how different invasive species interact with the native flora and fauna. This is my experience from living out there. As far as the fishing thing that you had, it's actually a lot of the people that we've been talking to. It's one of the better fishing places if you're interested in going. That spot's where they get a lot of striper and stuff.
Right.
Steve?
A couple questions. One, as you said, this document indicates that it's, I'm not sure, 532 or 599. There's two different numbers in here.
The
but you said
532 is the
800 and something.
appraised value that the town, not the appraised value, the assessed value that the town taxes my family on. And this is the third generation being taxed without anything to show for that. So we've been paying,
this
that's
document
what-
says the price is 532.
No, this document says the assessed value that the town taxes this property on is $532,000.
Okay.
And they're
So
asking-
We're
Where's the
asking
price?
$599,000. It's the next, third page.
the third page. So where did the 800 and something come from?
Those are the appraisals that were done by the town. Where is that? Is that on the first page? No, it's in the conversation. There's a high and a low, because there's no way to know, in talking to the town planner, if somebody could actually come in or if and when they would come in and put a house and clear all of the conservation elements that are on the property to put a house there. And so they came in and did two appraisals, a low and a high. The interesting thing is the low on this is far lower than when, I've been through this 3 times with CPC, this would be the third. The first time was with Ed McLaughlin back in 2002 or 3, when they first implemented CPC. Ed asked for the 3.9 million. He had a purchase and sale on the property. I suggested this to him because I've always thought this is a parcel that should be enjoyed by all the people in Scituate. The second time I sat down with Noah's Help, who put together this conceptualized plan, and the price then was 1.9 million. At that point, CPC did a appraisal. That appraisal came in with less land by half an acre, or actually an acre, and it ended up being $412,000. That was in 2010. So there really isn't another need to do another appraisal on this property. In my opinion, what has to happen for this property is for the boards to decide what the value of this property is for the 25,000, 30,000 people that live in this town, who walk out onto First Cliff by the hundreds every single month, and would they enjoy this property in perpetuity? That is how you're gonna have to figure the value of this property. A quarter acre of open space on First Cliff goes for over $1 million. So I believe that the discussion on highs and lows of appraisals isn't as important as what this value is to the town of open space and recreation and enjoyment to the people.
How much
the
of this
town.
space is actually usable?
The,
How much of it is flooded versus usable?
There's
Just land?
a great deal of uplands. You walk the entire beach.
How much?
You walk the entire beach. All of the farm is all uplands. Do you have this in your plan?
I'm looking at the thing that shows the green, the light green. Is that the parcel? It's in your document?
Which page are you on? Do you have a page?
Just-
That's it.
That is town property, and most of that is also uplands. It's not green because it's marsh. They didn't delineate on that particular map any wetlands. The conceptualized plan has boardwalks, which would go over any wet areas, but the current walkway of 600 beach frontage is more depicted on the pictures here. And you can see by these pictures how much of it is actually uplands. There's a picture that is high tide, which is this one here, and you can see how much of that property on this depiction is actually above the water. There is some marsh on the backside, which is town property, which would connect over to the Maritime Center, and that would have a boardwalk. And if you look at the conceptualized plan, there's some ideas of what boardwalks would look like. And I've talking to Scott McFadden from Wildland Trust, and he believes there's a great deal of grant money that can be tapped into to help the town and the group getting in charge of putting this together.
And the parcels that you show, there's one that's shown kind of as potentially available? What does that mean?
That is a piece that wasn't part of the original plot plan. If you go back to the map, and is not currently on the MLS listing.
So that's not part of
that
the
is-
599?
No, well, it can be put in. It doesn't have a lot of value because it is got a drain pipe going through it from Roberts Drive. And that's to be talked over with the broker as to whether they will include that or not. But that's not part of the original farm parcel, which is on the front page of your second or third
So
page.
it's not a parcel you control?
No.
I see, okay.
All right, Steve. Any other questions?
And how would the, so the transfer of this, who would sort of take over stewardship of this? This would be the town?
No.
Wildland Trust would hold the conservation restriction on it.
Right.
And they would be the ones controlling donations that would come in. There's been several pledges. They will put up a donation page on their website for people to contribute to, and they will hold the conservation restriction for the town of.
And Noah is very interested in working on this property as well.
And they would sort of have the ongoing sort of maintenance obligation for this property?
Or an organization that would be put together from the cliff, or, I mean, that's
In other words,
to
it's not
be
town
discussed.
responsibility to do
No.
it.
No.
I think town's responsibility to make sure there's an easement or conservation easement there.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm just thinking about future uses. Like, you know, even putting boardwalks and stuff on this property is, you know, it might be a nice to have, but it's also not an absolutely necessary thing to have, and it's probably, unless somebody else can pay for it and maintain it, you know, not high on the priority list either.
I think the priority is to purchase the property and then deal with the other stuff afterwards. I think it's necessary to get the property and then figure out, once we have
the
it.
conceptualized plan is for the future.
So let's not talk about the future, let's deal with right now.
It can be used right now as is.
Right.
It's being used by the town as is right now. It's just, we just don't stop people from going on it. We're like, come fish, it's good, it's great.
They surf,
I
they
don't see the
fish,
need to
they
do
walk
anything
along
to
the
it,
beach,
right?
they walk their
Sorry?
dogs there.
I don't see the need to do anything to it. There's no
Well-
obligation for us to make
No.
it active recreational use and stuff.
It's, okay. Would you support purchasing this property?
Obviously, depends on what the price is.
Well, the price is
Price is
$5.99.
$5.99.
Well, what happened to the 8, whatever you said?
Those are appraisals, they have nothing to do with what the asking price is. The
The ask-
asking price
Okay.
is $5.99.
Right? Bill?
Yeah, I go back in 2002 maybe,
Hmm.
when I CPC, then the follow-up on it, CPC came in later. Right? I'm not convinced in my own mind that there's a buildable piece of property, house on it, but that's immaterial, I think. At least in my mind it is. I think it's a very valuable piece of open space that should be preserved. Right? And I think the money's been all over the map in terms of whether it's 800, whether it's 500, or whether it's 3 million on it. But I think if they can settle on a price that's agreeable, on a process that's agreeable, because right now I think the way they handle open space is it goes out for an appraisal. If CPC is willing to come back up and buy it and agree to the price and bring that price to town meeting, then I'm willing to support it.
Thank you. Patty?
I totally support buying this property, absolutely. It's, as Ben says, we're losing access to the coastline with all those houses out there on the cliff.
And one of the things, a report that was done advocated having the harbor walkway that would run from, we own the property behind the bank, through the Maritime Center, and all the way out to basically the Coast Guard.
That was
building.
part of a harbor study access plan that was done in 2000 to 2006, done by the Harbor Institute at UMass Boston.
Right.
It is an opportunity. There are literally hundreds of people who already walk out there. Personally, I would like to get some of them off of the road. The
Well-
way where we walk around Second Cliff is not really a safe area. They walk 3 and 4 abreast, and it's a dangerous section. But those are goals down the road.
Right. So I think that purposes, you know that I support this unequivocally. Anyone in the audience that would like to? Dan?
From being a member of the CPC.
Would you just finish identifying
Uh,
yourself?
My name's Dan Fennelly, 10 Highland Crossing. Thanks for calling on me. I support this. I think it's a great location. If you see the video of the property, a flyover, it's just a beautiful piece of property. There's been a big question about the value of the property. I look at it, property at that location, in the harbor, where it is visible from Front Street, that's a premium. That is a premium piece of property. And I certainly thought about the price of the property, did have some qualms about it, given the various value that was put on it, but I do think the price that's being set now is reasonable, and I'm sure things will work out. The rec department, just so you know, is meeting on Wednesday, and we're going to look at supporting this as well.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to chime in on this? No? Okay. All right, do we need to make a motion here?
It's up to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't call
We
for a
come back up,
vote.
write a letter in support of the project.
Right, just write a letter
All
in
right.
support of the project.
Then we'll write a letter in support of the project.
Well, I think the motion was that the chair would write.
The chair will write a letter of support.
That would need to be in by the 24th for the
Well,
next CPC meeting.
That's fine. No problem. We'll get it done.
Just a question at CPC, because I haven't been to CPC. What else is on the sort of the docket for
the town,
CPC?
Norwell, I
What are
mean,
the
for
other priorities?
There's two that are, there's the Wampatuck Playground.
Right.
And there's the Roach parking lot.
And that increased in price because of stormwater, $70,000.
For the Roach Brothers.
Parking lot.
Field, yeah.
Which-
Roach Brothers.
Yeah, Roach
Field.
Brothers. Okay, what can I say?
But those are the only two that are on the current warrant.
For now.
besides this
Is there
one.
any open space besides this?
No.
No.
Nothing else has come in?
We're trying to do CPC every 6 months so that it doesn't get to be this log jam in January and February heading into annual town meeting.
Yeah, I
So,
know, it's just, when you look at it, you generally want to look at
the whole thing.
what's on the docket,
Right,
not
but-
just one at a time.
No, we have now the potential of 3 for this upcoming open space, Roach Field, and the Wapatuck School playground. That's what's up. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you on the 24th.
Okay.
Dan, thank you very much. All right. We'll go back to planning board schedule for November and December.
Right now, the planning board is scheduled to meet November 8th. The 22nd is the fourth Thursday, which is
Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving, so you can either meet on the Tuesday before or the week after.
Kitchens.
If anyone has a preference. And right now, we've got one meeting scheduled for December, but it depends, I guess, on your project.
What day is that?
December 13th?
13th? I won't be here for the 13th.
I will not be here for the 25th of October.
I highly doubt I'll be here the 11th, and 27th and 25th are dicey. I'm planning to be here, but on all of those dates, but I don't know.
Ann and I are always here.
I'm always here. And also keep in mind that we are appointing on the 18th, no, on the 24th.
Posted agenda, which for a roll call vote on the 18th
On the 18th, which is Tuesday,
at 7:15.
at 7:15. Can you all be there?
Yes.
Thank you.
So do you not want to set a second meeting in November yet, or?
If my preference would probably be the 29th after, because a lot of people have family come in that week or travel or something, so
Okay.
the Tuesday, it's just a little more restrictive on travel schedules for Thanksgiving holiday.
So come in after?
But I don't,
That's fine.
I don't care.
29th is okay with me.
Yeah, all right, so it'll be November 29th, and then we meet again on the December 13th.
I can't do 13th, so I won't be there,
Okay.
unless you want to move it.
Well, the following week would be the 20th, which is a little close.
Yep. You just have to do 13th without me.
How you will be truly missed.
Okay, so then we'll go for that in the moment. If we need to change things
We'll change things. It's all very
as we go
flexible.
along, we'll go along.
Okay. Then we have, so I've stolen your, whatever, I keep losing mine. Public safety complex for ZBA, the sign.
I'm going to recuse myself for this
You
discussion.
don't have to leave, you can just sit
No,
there.
I think it's best
Yeah,
to.
I
All
have
right,
to
leave,
leave.
okay.
So, it has to do with Alice property, so.
So, the chief came in June on the signboard. The ZBA is having a special permit for it next week. Now's the time if you'd like to make any recommendations before the meeting next week.
And how do I know which one of the pictures, the delightful pictures that I saw of the sign is going to?
I don't know. That's,
That's
you
the
know.
same question I had.
I mean, I don't want one that looks like a high school, or the new school.
Yeah, no mast.
No, Bob Vogel drew up the plan.
It's got it's got that, as we distributed before, it's got the base and,
The town seal,
Made out of stone?
yes,
stone or,
something.
Plywood.
no, it was, or CMU or some type of unit like that. If Now's the time if you want to do it. If you don't want to make a recommendation, there's no need to make a recommendation, but it's up to the board.
DRC ended up not meeting this week about it, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Are they going to meet before the ZBA meeting?
No.
Why did they punt? They just didn't want to do it?
There wasn't going to be a quorum.
Oh. They're supposed to be our sign people. So, do we know which one it is? Did we get the answer to that?
No, we don't know which one it is.
Why can't it be a sign, as they have proposed, and have it externally lit and then just sort of move the letters themselves like they do with the high school?
I don't know if they got the National Grid money or Columbia Gas. Somebody gave money for this.
Columbia,
I think that was
$10,000.
for electric signboard, right?
I would be in favor of something a little more minimalistic than these gargantuan. These things look massive to me. These big brick things with, you know. I think it should be in keeping with the rest of the building. What that looks like, I don't know, because I don't even know which one we're talking about here.
Nor do I know where it's going to be located.
Right.
Exactly.
I sent the plan that was where the electricity was done as part of the EOC, so that plan I provided to the board.
Okay.
Oh, is
No,
that
no,
what
you
it is?
did. When I looked at it, I looked at
Okay.
it as an electrical plan, and it never dawned on me that
Okay.
it would tell me where the sign goes.
I
Okay,
assume-
so where's the sign going then?
Well, I assume that you have to have electricity for the sign, so it would be in that general vicinity.
Which, can you point it out, Karen, or is, I can't even read this thing.
It's somewhere in that front grass area.
Is it here?
There.
That looks like a light pole. Does it look like light poles? Yeah, it's so bad, it's such a bad print, I can't even read the notes on it.
It's in Chinese.
And they don't show the building either.
So I think this is a two-step. One is, do we think there should be a sign there at all? And the question, then two, if there is, what should it look like?
Well, I don't want a sign there. I don't like the idea of it. I just think it adds to the confusion. That intersection at
Man,
3A and Man Lot is deadly. And this just adds to the clutter.
I agree with you in that if we're going to give a recommendation to ZBA who's going to be permitting this, that they really should consider traffic. Because I could see with a scrolling message and then the emergency, the light that goes on when the fire trucks come out,
Yep.
plus Man Lot Road. There's a lot going on
It's too much.
in that part that should probably be, I don't know if these signs are traditionally on high-speed state roads like that. Maybe they are, maybe they're not, but probably.
They're billboards that are,
Right, I
you
know.
know.
But a digital sign, all I can think of is the one when you're coming out of the back entrance to the Hanover Mall, opposite the YMCA, they have a digital sign. Ugh. I mean, it's revolving and we don't need to cheapen the place up, do we? And it's for notify people of storms,
Yeah, that's the other piece I've got, is if it's public safety, what are we gonna,
safely public.
I mean, we're gonna sit there and say, don't go down because the seawall's failing?
Are you gonna go to that meeting on the 20th?
20th at ZBA,
Yeah,
if I can.
I'll try to get there. All right, do we want to make a recommendation or do we want to ignore it?
Well, I think we should provide comments so they can be considered as the ZBA's. I mean, they may completely ignore it too, but we should, ought to put the comments in.
Well, my comment would be no sign.
Right, but for the purpose, I mean, we ought to articulate the rationale behind that, right?
Well, I
So,
think Ben articulated it perfectly.
I mean, in a letter to him.
Yes.
Right. I'm not as opposed to a sign. I would like to see that it's sort of to scale and not in kind of an overwhelming
And, you
kind
know,
of structure there.
if this is,
So I would say, you know, one of the things the ZBA ought to do is still do the same thing we asked, is that the DRC look at it. Right.
nope, they've got everything in there, ready to go October 1st. If this is Route
That
3A,
doesn't mean anything.
right, if this is Route 3A, and this is Man Lot here, okay? And if this sign is facing Route 3A, and people are, it's going to be a huge distraction trying to read this as you're zooming by at 50 miles an hour.
I don't think it'll be more of a distraction than anything else is right
Right.
now.
It may add confusion as to how you get into the building.
That's true. Of course, trying to find the
That
front
depends where they
doors.
put it too, right?
Yeah,
And we don't, we can't tell from this drawing where it's going.
no, we can't. And, you know, the front door is 300 feet away from the parking lot, which, whose brilliant idea was that? At any rate, all right, what type of a letter do you want?
I think it ought to be a comment letter.
Comment?
Right.
Well, what would you like your comment to be?
Well, I'm proposing a comment that whatever is proposed, if there is a proposal to actually put a sign there, if it comes to that, then there ought to be a review of the actual design.
I
And it ought to-
provided that information to the board this week,
Provided what information?
some of the pictures that they had.
I see the pictures, and that's my comment on the pictures, is if this is what they're proposing, then no. Right? If there's a streamlined, sort of scaled-down version of this that's in sort of keeping with the look and feel of the public safety building, then I'd say, show me what that looks like.
Because the building itself is rather austere, there's nothing in front.
Right.
Nothing. And you can't even.
And so a nice streamline, if you're going to put it, it seems like kind of a minimalist sort of structure around a sign or something is the way to do it,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I don't need some big brick.
Yeah, this
That's
would be
ridiculous.
god-awful, right?
Okay, all right,
I don't know how you write all that, but
figure it out.
I think another comment would be to suggest that they run it by our design review.
yes, that was exactly where I was going with that.
Okay,
And I guess the other comment would be to have them run it by either
traffic.
traffic rules or a traffic safety engineer. I don't know who
Yeah.
is an expert in these matters, but just to
Traffic safety
consider
engineer
that.
would probably be a good one to
Yeah.
run it by, right? Is have somebody opine on how
Yeah,
much it might detract or
just so we know whether that's.
result in distracted driving or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it would distract people from their smartphones.
And
All
texting.
right,
Okay,
we'll come up with something.
all right, minutes.
Caddy.
Patty, yo.
Why did she recuse herself?
Because of the Ellis property.
Oh,
Is she also in a butter, or is that not technically?
Nah, not really, but she's been involved with.
Yeah.
Minutes, madam.
Okay. Minutes. I move to approve the requisition of $4,745 to Merrill Corporation for site inspections and stormwater review for Curtis Estates, for $12.95 for Amazon for office supplies, for $14.01 for WB Mason for office supplies, for $360 to Chesia Consulting Services LLC for construction inspections for 50 Country Way, for $126 to Chesia Consulting Services LLC for construction inspections for the Glen, for $64.32 to Gatehouse Media for legal ad for RFP for wastewater resilience feasibility study.
Is there a second?
Yep.
All those in favor, please say aye.
aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, we did accounting, liaison reports. Basically, you heard CPC, so we don't need to do that. EDC met last night. We're going to try to there's a group that's really interested in North Scituate, and they're putting together a group to try to come up with something, because the village is just absolutely going south quickly. The bank leaves on Friday. Jamie's has their permits, but apparently the construction is very expensive. The light fixtures up there are all peeling. The place looks terrible. So there was discussion about that. There was discussion about water replication, offsets. Water offsets in terms of, for residents, for businesses, but.
Oh, it's not related to North Scituate?
No,
Oh,
not at
okay.
all. And then talk about waterways. EDC needs to really do a little bit more advertising for the harbor, because there really is nothing out there. So it was a long meeting, and interesting. So we'll meet again. We're going to try to put together something for the zoning for Greenbush and have a forum for North Scituate at some point in time. Okay, so that's my report.
Did anybody go to the Board of Selectmen meeting on the 4th?
I was there at the beginning.
No.
I heard they were going to talk about the sort of the whole brown water issue. Was that a topic of conversation, or did that?
They had a special meeting on that.
On the 4th?
What day?
Did I miss that?
What day?
No, I think you're talking about the one that you went to, or you saw.
Oh, no, I went to the big meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought there was some kind of follow-up that was going to
Oh, I
happen.
I think so. No.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to do this too.
Okay.
You have to approve the minutes too.
Oh, sorry.
I went to conservation, and Mr. Arberger was there to talk about more open space at Ian Vital. I don't know where that's gonna sit or where that's gonna land. It's sounds like a convoluted legal issue. Was another really long meeting, interesting, but conservation was a little bogged down by what was happening, and then they're moving ahead with the trails up in the West End, which is really kind of exciting when you talk about open space. How much money was spent on that, and finally getting access to those fields up there, especially the Appleton field.
Along those same lines, in terms of conservation, Steve Bajorklin attempted to put a zoning bylaw change on the upcoming warrant town meeting, but he didn't get enough certified signatures, 100 signatures. So it's being put off until the annual, and what he wants to do, it has to do with open space, to go back to the language that it originally was before 2010, so that land in a flexible open space development would go into the homeowners association and be taken care of by them, as opposed to getting a CR on it. And conservation doesn't want the however few acres there are around 90 in Vinyl. It's just not big enough for them. So that's
Yeah,
what
that's
you were
a-
alluding to
yeah.
as well. So it's a dilemma. Anybody else? And you want to do minutes?
Oh, yeah. I move to approve the meetings for August 23rd, 2018.
Is there a second?
Okay, same as the email?
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Well, I do have one liaison.
okay.
With Water Resource Committee, you already alluded to, you said they came to EDC, presented at EDC, so they're moving forward with the water offsets proposal. I think shortly they're gonna ask, they had brought this up before, but they're gonna ask for our actual recommendation letter of support, or to support that when they go in front of the Board of Selectmen, which is supposed to be fairly soon, but I don't have a schedule, date, or anything. Other than that, it's, as you guys know, the water issues in this town are really interesting, so I could probably go on for an hour about what went on in that meeting. I would say that the biggest takeaways are, we actually have to temporarily shut down the treatment plant in December, which a lot of people don't realize. We're actually only at half capacity now because of equipment failures, and in order to fix it, we need to do a full shutdown.
Is this the water treatment plant?
Water treatment plant, yeah. They have to do a full shutdown in order to fix the existing problem, and kind of get things back to where they
What's the
need to
existing
be.
problem? Are they replacing?
It is,
I thought they replaced
track-
like the carbon filters. Or
Track vac malfunction and sedimentation basins. One of the track vacs, which cleans out the sediment as it goes through, there's part of it's broken, and they have to clean everything out and send like a, hazardous conditions kind of dive team guys down and fix it, and that can't be done unless everything's shut down, so they can.
And why did this happen? Is it just,
Lack of maintenance over the years.
Oh, wow.
It sounds like. I mean, it could have been a materials problem,
what
but
else is new?
yeah. So they have like a plan to go to the go fully to the wells during that time when the treatment plant's backed up, and
Oh, this ought to be wonderful.
it's complicated, but it sounds like Kevin Cafferty has it kind of well planned out, but everything needs to go,
According to
off
plan.
without a T. But as I said, right now we're kind of running on a wing and a prayer. If the other track vac sedimentation system failed right now, the water treatment plant would be kaput. So that was kind of a little bit scary. There's a lot of talk about they won't eventually, probably next town meeting, I think they want to get funding for this green sand filter, which we brought up to discuss before, to deal with some of the manganese issues. That's going to be a good amount of money, and there's things with that about how do we have the personnel to maintain it long term? How are we going to maintain it long term? And is it going to solve the problems 100%? Well, I've talked about brown water, as we kind of all know, and that they're trying to come up with some fixes for the problem. I guess doing the flushing program should really help, because an official flushing program hasn't really been done for a long time. So they're trying to get Sean Anderson and the water department's getting the flushing program. They're continuing it, and hopefully that will deal with some of the issues. But it seems like at least members of the committee, some people were questioning, do we really understand and know why brown water is? So there's...
I've done some looking at this, and just listening to what they talked about at the meeting. They've actually articulated two problems, right? One is an iron oxide problem that's supposedly being addressed by replacing all these unlined cast iron pipes. So the last 2 miles are supposed to be done next spring, right?
Yeah.
So supposedly that should address the brown water, the rusty water problem. The manganese is the source of the black, sort of red-brown water problem. And it's ubiquitous, and it reacts with chlorine and precipitates out.
Yeah.
So it's not something that just kind of goes away. And even if you flush the pipes, it's just a stopgap measure till it precipitates out again, right? So it needs a much broader sort of evaluation of the total problem and then a total solution, because, the green sand filter, along with all the operating costs that come with it, may not solve the problem, because it's only on one well, and you can have manganese not only from the wells, but actually from surface water too. So to me, it feels like there needs to be a much more sort of concerted effort to evaluate the scope of the problem.
I think that's what
identify the solutions.
Yeah, I think that's what members of the committee were kind of getting at. Is, not rather than just funding potential fixes, is like really what is going to be the long-term fix.
The amazing thing about all that is that there is a ton of literature on this from all sources about manganese in public water supplies. So this isn't a new problem. It's been around for decades. And there are very well-schooled experts in this who have written books about this, about how to deal with it. It feels like we've got a few sort of individual solutions on individual issues, but nothing that's sort of looked at the whole picture. and set a goal for how we're gonna solve the problem. And it may not be green sand filters, right? One problem with a filter, if you put it in front of a pump, is it reduces the capacity of the pump.
More resistance.
It's more head drop for the pump, and we don't have capacity to start with. So,
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
I would say the last thing that, from what I researched, that should be of interest to this board is that I don't think we're going to be getting this comprehensive water study done anytime soon. It sounds like there's other studies that are higher priority, particularly a hydraulic study, which is currently being finished up, that Kevin wants to look at, and then also I have in my notes that I don't think the minutes are available for the meeting yet, but that they want to have the pipe replacement finished before they start a comprehensive water study. I'm not sure why that would be, but
Just the
that's...
last 2 miles of the whole town?
No, I think the pipes, the last 2 or whatever. So it just
shouldn't be any reason to do that.
it sounds like that is moving slower than I think I expected, and that I think this board would kind of like, but
Okay.
I would agree.
Okay, Karen.
We're moving along, Curtis Estates is progressing, and we're working on the stormwater regs. So we'll keep you updated in the next few weeks.
Very good. That's it?
That's it.
All right. Is there anything else? All right, I'll entertain Bill's motion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
all right.
Thank you, people.
Thank you. Did you get my street light yet? Get my
All right.
street light?
Enough. So basically, that
Can't get out of that
$200,000
stupid
that
street.
we got from toll brothers is not
The
gonna
real
go to the
accidents
squad, is
today.
it?
No,
At the
But we knew
intersection of
that.
Manawat and
No, we
PA
didn't.
alone.
Oh.
Today.
he screwed us up.